A little over 17 years ago, a 16-year-old lad made his debut for the little village team where he grew up, little part-time village team, playing in the Northern Premier League Division 1 East. Fast forward 17 years, that same young lad has won the Premier League twice, he's played 49 times for England, and today he plays for that same little village team in the Champions League. Hello and welcome to part 151 of It's Coming Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our first ever Champions League game away against FC Copenhagen, and then we're at home against Preston in the Premier League. Talking of the Premier League, it started really rather well. 3 consecutive wins, Fulham, Leicester, Sheffield United, things going lovely. We then stuttered a little bit by drawing away against Southampton, went on the international break, came back and lost 5-0. Again, away against Blackburn. I don't even understand how this happened. Just to rub salt into the wounds as well, that's the goalkeeper I almost signed in the summer, James Powell. Saidi got a 5 in that game. Saidi was awful. If we actually look at the match stats of this game, I know I have a tendency to blame goalkeepers from time to time. Look at the state of those stats. Just look at the state of those stats. We had 55% possession. We had 26 shots to their 9. We had 9 shots on target to their 6. They had 6 shots on target and scored 5 goals. It was a fluke, awful, terrible result where everything went against us. But the history books do still show Blackburn 5, home 0. We are still 5th in the Premier League, so it's not all bad. Obviously, still early days, but we do need to... How have Tottenham already qualified for the Europa League this season? I don't understand. What could they possibly have won to qualify for the Europa League already? Did they... European Super Cup, maybe? Does that get you Europa League qualification? Would they have been in that? Europa League, no. I mean, they've had to qualify for the Europa League. Does that mean because they had to go through Europa League qualification? Is this just the game glitching again? Because otherwise, did they get into the Europa League by beating us in the Charity Shield, which seems to be called the Charity Shield again and not the Community Shield? When did that change? How have Tottenham already qualified for next season's Europa League? Weird. I don't know how much longer this save... It's a good job we won the league early. I don't know how much longer this save's going to survive for. It is glitching like nobody's business. In fact, I never did look to see what happened with the relegation situation last season, because we got to the end of the season and it was only showing 2 teams as relegated. Now, I don't notice Huddersfield in the league anywhere, so presumably they did go down, but I don't understand why it took so long to show them. There's weird stuff going on, boys and girls. Let's go and play in the Champions League. And this is the team we're putting out there for our Champions League game. We've got Saidi in goal, a back four of Sands because Candamill is injured, which is one of the reasons why we had such a hard time against Blackburn, I think. In fact, I want to show you this with all the unavailable players taken away. This is our Europa League squad. We are down to bare bones. Not Europa League, Champions League squad. We're down to bare bones in our Champions League squad. Obviously, we have had to register Dean Morris, Sir Anthony Harris, Semic Powell. They will all play in the Champions League over the course of this season. I'd like to think we'll qualify from our group early, and then we can play Harris and Powell up front in Game 6. I've already got it in my mind. But, yeah, there's a few players who've had to be left out from this who are probably going to be a little bit unhappy, or we know they're already unhappy. Kurti and Dragovic in particular, not registered. Deakin as well, not registered. And all that fuss about signing the home originals. The other thing I found, which I'm sure some of you told me, I recorded the video in advance so I didn't get the chance to see it, but if you have a look at there's our group, by the way. If you have a look at the registration rules, and I couldn't believe this when I saw it, squad registration, a minimum of 4 players trained at the club for 3 years between 15th and 21st birthdays. So, unbelievably, Dean Morris and Sir Anthony Harris don't count towards that number. They go into the 8 players trained in the same nation because they both left us at 18. They did 2 years. not 3 years. Now, I don't know if that's because we were a newly created club, and maybe if they'd have come through our youth system properly, perhaps it would have registered them. Perhaps it's just another little glitch because of the newly promoted club thing. But I could not believe that 2 of our own players who came from our own youth team, 2 home originals, don't count as home originals for the purposes of this. So the only homegrown at-home player we've got in the entire squad is Semic Powell. So that's why he's in the Champions League squad as well. The man who couldn't get in the Bristol Rovers team last year will probably be playing in the Champions League this year. So Saidi in goal. A back four of Sands, Dianzi, Lee and Mayer with Dean Morris at the base of the midfield. There's good reason for that as well. I'm not just being a crazy person. Thompson's not fit. Jimenez is needed to play in midfield because Yamin's not fit and Curtie's not registered for the Champions League. So it's not a nostalgia thing. Dean Morris is in that team on merit. So Dean Morris at the base of the midfield, Bishop and Jimenez ahead of him, Chernyshov behind Akemo and Kano. One other thing we've done since the last video is given out a lot of new contracts. Akemo is now on a big 5-year contract on big money. Jimenez is on a big 5-year contract, on big money. And there's a few others as well. Basically, anybody who's any good has signed a new long-term contract. Kano has signed a long-term contract. So fingers crossed we're not going to be losing any of our key players anytime soon. But what we need to do is make sure that we don't somehow bottle our start to our Champions League campaign. Those of you who've been watching my Twitch streams recently will know I've got a little bit of previous with FC Copenhagen, having won the Danish League with Brøndby fairly recently. But, I mean, I've beaten with Brøndby like 4 times. That Brøndby team had Obafemi Martins in it. Now, I know we've got Mick Powell in our squad, but I'd like to think this home side is considerably better than my Brøndby side was. So we should be able to make our way past Copenhagen relatively simply. But that would be if we weren't coming into it on the back of a 5-0 defeat in the league. Confidence is going to be strained, I would suggest. And plus the fact that we've never played at this level before. They have. We might be, I don't know, are we a bigger team at this point? We're certainly a better side. But we're 1-0 down because we're in completely uncharted territory. We don't know what we're doing, and we're very, very afraid. This is a problem. This is a big problem. Come on, lads, sort your lives out. Let's show some passion. I can already hear the chorus of Kev, drop the diamond down in the comments. The diamond, you can't win the Champions League with the diamond. But to be fair, you all said, not all of you, a lot of you said we couldn't win the Premier League with a diamond. A lot of people said we couldn't get promoted with a diamond. We've used this diamond pretty much since, I think it was the Conference National, we switched from the 4-2-3-1 to the diamond. It's done us well for about 12 years. We ain't changing it now. Kano scores his first ever Champions League goal, 4th goal of the season. He is looking like a real top striker this season. Last year, obviously, he did get the Premier League Golden Boot. He had a real breakout season. This year, he just looks like a proper elite striker threat, where he doesn't even have to have a good game. He'll just score goals. And I know it's only his 4th of the season. I'm not getting carried away. He's looked very, very good. He just plays with that pomp and confidence of a real top-level striker. I expect him to get the call up for Spain in the near future. I don't really get why he didn't at any point last season. Lee plays it all the way back to Saidi, who plays it back to Dianzi, who lumps it over the top for Kano to chase. Kano is in behind, and it's a good last-ditch tackle from the Copenhagen defender. And Shakhtar Donetsk have gone ahead against Bayer Leverkusen, and that puts them top of the group as things stand. I mean, looking at the 4, I've got to feel confident. I mean, that's probably one of the easiest Champions League groups we could possibly have been given. Looking at some of the other teams in this competition, I think it's a massive advantage the fact that we're an English team, because it means we don't have to face any of the other English teams. Go back out there. Right, let's assertively say, grab a goal, win the game. Go do. But looking at some of the other groups, I mean, look at the state of that one: AC Milan, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich. There's none of us playing at the moment, it seems. But I think we've been let off the hook a little bit there. Obviously, winning the title was a big help because it got us top seed, which meant we've avoided, presumably from that group, Real Madrid. Presumably from that group, I guess Bayern Munich, maybe. I think we've just won a penalty and got their player sent off. This is how you go out after half time and grab a game by the scruff of the neck. Send him off, let us score the penalty, and fingers crossed, any little scare that we had going into this game can just drift away. Chernyshov converts the penalty. He's on a yellow card himself, so we need to be a little bit careful of him. But that is his third goal of the season. Puts us 2-1 up just after half time. And does that put us top of the group? I want to be top of the group all the way through. I don't like the idea of not being top of the group. That troubles me. It does put us up to the top of the group. We're used to being in first place at this point. We'd never really done it before, up until the end of last season. Now we're kind of accustomed to it. Jimenez, ball over the top for Akamo to chase, and it falls really nicely for Akamo, and he tucks it away. And that's a combination of the good old-fashioned home lump that Dean Morris will remember from when he was here before. He's so used to watching the ball just fly over his head for a fast striker to chase. Combination of a decent pass, but actually it's that defender's just fluffed his lines completely. And Akamo's there to capitalise. 3-1 just after half-time, and that should put this game beyond doubt, because I'd like to think we're not so incompetent that we could concede 2 more goals against FC Copenhagen. Otherwise, this Champions League run is going to be relatively short-lived. When it comes to board expectations, the board are still just expecting a mid-table finish in the Premier League this season and to reach the group stages of the Champions League, i.e. the stage we're already at. So we can have a relatively relaxed season. It doesn't look like we really need to overexert ourselves too often. Dean Morris not having the best of games, but Thompson, I've already brought Yamin on, who's not really fit. I don't feel the need to bring Thompson on for Morris in these circumstances. I'm just scanning through for fitness from other players. I think, in fact, this feels like an opportunity to give Montero his debut. We spent all that money on him just before deadline day. So what sort of defender are you? You can't really do any of it properly. That's interesting. Be no nonsense on cover then. Just not on cover, on stopper. Just be there to lump the ball forward. Why is there a fly buzzing around my head? What is this nonsense? Akamo's in again. Ball bounces off the crossbar. That fly is going to ruin my day. Why is there a fly in here? This is a problem with working out of your garage. Ugh, flies. I don't know why a garage is more likely to get flies than a house. Because I'm right next to my driveway. Right, we are going to take Dean Morris off now. And my driveway's covered in weeds because I'm a monster who doesn't weed his driveway. Who weeds their driveway? Most people. Looking at my neighbours, they probably hate me. I'm too busy to weed my driveway. If anyone wants to come and weed my driveway, don't come to my house. I'll do it myself eventually. Bishop to Yamin. Yamin finds Mayer. Mayer turns his man nicely, tucks the ball into the far corner. His first ever goal for home. It's 4-1 on the night now. Mayer just looked like... It's like having Candemill on the other side. He looked like a winger doing this. This is our right back, boys and girls. Look how he turns his man here. That is a sensational piece of control. And tucks it into the far corner on his weak foot. One day I'll start playing 3 at the back because we have 2 proper, maybe not quite world class yet, but will be very soon, proper wing backs. They're not full backs playing on attacking instructions like Mark Wearmouth was, like a few of Oliver Gregson, like them lot who were overperforming but just because the role is so good. These are 2 players absolutely suited to this wing back role. They're not there to defend. They're there to do what you've just seen Mayer do there. Mayer's had a solid game. A goal and an assist, I think. In fact, man of the match. That's more than a solid game. He's had a very good game. In the absence of Candemill, Mayer has stepped up just to make sure we're always a threat from wide areas despite not having any wide attacking players. But with that win, that means we're 1 game closer to Mick Powell playing in the Champions League. We'll do it if we win the group before the end. Not qualify, we want to win the group. We want to be seeded for the next round as well. If we win this group with a game to go, Mick Powell and Sir Anthony Harris start the last game. And I think I might cry. I have a question. What nonsense is this that we play a Champions League game on a Tuesday and then have to play in the Premier League on a Friday? I know it's been moved for TV, but perhaps move a team that's not just played in the Champions League midweek. We've done a bit more rotation than we might have done if we were playing Saturday or Sunday. Purely for that reason, you can see there Dragovic unhappy that he's not been included in the Champions League squad. But I'm trying to do... I think with Sevilla in Non-League to Legend, I managed... This flies back. He wasn't there the whole time between the two matches. He's come back as soon as he heard me speak. He must love my voice. Madness. I think I managed fitness quite well with Sevilla, and that was through really quite heavily rotating the team either side of Champions League games, pretty much from the moment we first qualified for the Champions League. It didn't always lead to success early on, as the squad was a little small, and I guess we're going to have that issue here at home as well. But as time goes on, we need to get them used to the fact that they probably won't play, the big stars certainly won't play both Premier League games either side of a Champions League game. So with that in mind, Riviere comes in at right back. We've got Curti and Bishop in central midfield. Manu comes in for Chernyshov, and we're going with Rodriguez and Dragovic rather than Kano and Akamo. Just resting people, keeping them fit as well. I don't think it hurts too much that it Saturday last week, so still less than a week ago, we lost 5-0 to Blackburn. And a lot of the players who were involved in that now aren't involved in this game. So in addition to resting the players who played in midweek, hopefully it also sends a little bit of a message that you can't do what we did in the last Premier League game either. We're favourites. Go out there, give the fans something to... I mean, I don't know how to motivate a winning team. I'm all right with underdogs. A team that's favourite for matches, I'm completely lost with. By the way, as well, can I just draw your attention to what the Premier League looks like this season? Manchester City and Chelsea, both 5 wins from 5. I mentioned in the title-winning episode of last season a few days ago how you shouldn't expect us to retain the title. We won't have another season where all of the big clubs are utterly useless and don't even challenge. Well, there you go. City and Chelsea have both gone out, new managers this summer, spent money this summer, and have refreshed and rejuvenated their teams. I don't think 78 points is going to be enough to win the Premier League this year, but there's Xavi Rodriguez. His first goal of the season, obviously, his goal on the last day was crucial. It wasn't. We'd have won the league anyway, but it was a nice little celebration moment. And that's what home won, Preston 0 after 13 minutes. It's a lovely finish from Rodriguez as well, who has been waiting for the opportunity to get himself back into the team. And it's his first start of the season and his first goal. So he's going to be putting some pressure on Kano and Akamo for a starting spot. Yet another a Spanish attacking player. We may as well just move to La Liga. This is why Dragovic can't get in the side regularly. He's not Spanish. If you're not Spanish, why would I play you? Sands, another Spanish player, playing at left back again for the first time in years. I think I said that the last time he played there as well, and obviously he did play there in the Champions League as well. But while Candemil is injured, Sands hasn't been getting in the team at centre-back because we've kind of gone with Lee and Dianzi as our centre-back partnership as a permanent thing now. So for Sands, Candemil being injured is an opportunity to get him back in the side. It's not so much moving our centre-back out of position like it was last season when we did it. It's now, okay, I'm a reserve player now. I've got to force my way back in. I'll do it in the position I broke through in the first place all those years ago. Right, don't get complacent out there. It's been a fairly even game looking at the stats. We were ahead for chances created and for goals, obviously. But everything else, there's not a huge amount between the two stats. We're just slightly edging everything. But Saidi again, I tell you what, I think he realised I was looking at replacing him in the summer. And it wasn't... I need to sit him down and have a chat with him. Because I wasn't trying to replace him because I don't think he's good enough. I still think he'll become the best goalkeeper in the world. I was looking at English players who could come in and play for us regularly, and that's why Powell at Blackburn, because he was reasonably priced, was an option. I didn't want to have to replace him. I thought we were 2-0 up. How? I thought we were 2-0 up. Now it's 1-1 all of a sudden. I swear we scored a second goal. I realised we probably didn't, but that's why I wasn't that bothered when we just conceded one. In my head, we were 2-0 up. Okay. Now we need to go and try and win this game, or else I'm going to get slaughtered for rotation. I'm tempted to do a triple. We haven't got anyone to bring on for Curti, so I can't. Right, did I already ask for passion? I did. I fired him up. How? Thinking back, I can only remember the Rodriguez goal. But in my mind, we were 2-0 up. Oh, no. Right, Dragovic can come off for Kano. And we probably should have brought Kano on a little bit sooner as we need a goal. And it's Preston who are attacking. We need to win the ball back here, get up the other end of the pitch and score a winner. This would be 3 Premier League games without a win if we manage to mess this up. What is going on? What is going on? Not only 3 Premier League games without a win, back-to-back Premier League defeats against terrible teams we shouldn't be losing against. Well, both Lee and Dianzi have been terrible there and put Saidi under unnecessary pressure. Sands would be laughing about that if he hadn't scored an own goal earlier in the match. We've sold Van der Horst. I don't understand. It's just, dare I say it, the hard-coded Champions League hangover thing. I think that's what Blackburn was as well. We've talked about it a million times before. We're playing in the Champions League for the first time, so we're being punished in the Premier League and losing matches that we just wouldn't have lost last season. And it's not because we're not good enough to win them. That team is so much better than the team they've just played. Same with Blackburn. But we've been handed defeats because we're not allowed to get too good just yet. Probably because our reputation isn't high enough to be too good just yet. Club reputation, still only 4 stars. So not allowed to be all conquering yet just yet. It's going to take a few years. Utterly ridiculous. Right. We will be back tomorrow. I think we might do what we did with the Europa League last year and just focus on the 3 away games because they're the key games in the group. So we'll come back tomorrow for Bayer Leverkusen and then I guess Shakhtar at the end where hopefully, that's Brighton, Shakhtar at the end where hopefully we'll see Paris and Paris? Why were they not called Paris all those years? Harris and Powell back together again for one last time. Who is it? Ukraine? Is that where Donetsk is? Who's coming to the Ukraine with me or wherever Donetsk is if that's not where it is? If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.